ASL Season 13 post-draft rankings at the most unexpected time ever. I'm here with Ian. That was Ian's voice that you just couldn't hear because he didn't say anything. And Malone.
Hi, Malone.
Also, we got the all handicap team here. All handicap team coming out strong. We had a little time. We kind of Commissioner Bowl events didn't work out super great this weekend. So we've moved it to next week. But in retribution, we're giving you a video a month and a half late. So let's get started. Let's get right into it. Pacific PANCHAMS, Popeye. Got a solid A-. First pick in the draft, right? Charizard X comes off the board. First pick in the draft. What were you guys thinking? Pick one, Charizard X comes off the board in a year where Magearna's legal, where Lando Eye Sheer Force is legal. What'd you think of Charizard X first pick?
Shock.
Yep.
That's it.
What Malone said.
Yeah, caught me completely off guard. Didn't expect it, especially in a season where we legalized mons that I thought would never, ever be legalized. I still think Magearna should be banned right now. But he did. He got the Char X. He got the Mamoswine pairing with it, which I really like. Muck A does not get enough love in the ASL, which is super fun to see. I really liked this team. My biggest knock against this team was just a lot of mons that get worn down but can't really do much about it. Not a lot of instant recovery, not a lot of ability to heal up that team, but a lot of hazards, a lot of hazard support, but just not a lot of longevity going to be in these games for Popeye. Hard to see him winning matches that go into turn 35 plus.
Yeah, just gonna add to that. This team has quite good hazards in stop rock. That's about it, really. You're not going to rely on Shuckle to use Sticky Web that option when you have that often when you have other good mons in the team, such as these. So his hazard removal's all right. As Brad said, his only cleric is Illumise, which isn't the best. I mean, it could come in Wish Pass, I suppose, but you're not going to do it every week, and you're not having anything else that can recover actively. So it definitely has some really hard hits on the physical side of things. On the special side, you relying a lot on Thundi, and I suppose Marina could do it as well. It's a good team. Could be better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say. I just from like an initial glance, I really like this team. I think the only other thing I would say is, well, actually, I don't even know. I was gonna say it's a bit too slow for my liking, which I guess it is, but like now that I think about it, my team's probably the same, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have nothing new. I'm going to predict that Popeye will start the season 2-3. Just saying.
Just total blind prediction there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely blind. I will say though, is even though I do kind of question taking Charizard X number 1 overall over things like Magearna, Protea, and Greninja, it is still my least favorite mon to have to prep against in all of Draft League. I hate facing that thing. It is such a pain in the rear. But
yeah,
on to the next team. Ian, you've got us for Amarillo's Dallas TYRANISTARS.
Yeah, we're on Dallas TYRANISTARS right now. So Magearna finally got off the board at affected it off pick number 1. This team is good. Magearna is a scary mon. It's very unlikely to die 5 times in the first 6 games. It's a random thought, but it's we've got really good hazard setters with 6 different mons with hazards and 4 different types of hazards. including sticky webs, which is really nice for this team with Magirna, Speed, Conkelda. There's some really nice aspects to it, but hazard removal's a bit lacking. You're gonna rely on Conkelda and Zatu, which probably aren't the best to be limited to that role. Zatu maybe, but you don't really want to bring it that often when you have other mons such as these. Team's a bit slow though, so it's gonna rely on webs quite a bit, in my opinion. Besides Greninja, yeah, I do like this team a lot, but it could be better, like the first team.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this either. I mean, I think just right off the bat, Magirna Rillaboom, like, yikes. And then getting Conk in the same tier, or you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, it's just like you look at the first three mons and you're gonna spend a long time prep because it's just not fun. But then, as you said, you take a look. There definitely are a lot of weak points, speed, hazard removal, all that kind of stuff. But I think Amaryllis can make it work. Probably start the season 3-3.
Yeah, I think that the hazard removal is an issue and is a weakness of this team, but I will admit we are in the heavy duty boots meta, where hazard removal has never been less important than it is right now. But that being said, Magirna Rillaboom by itself was at least a B. Like at minimum, if no other mons are on the team, that's still a B. That Magirna that you can't Earthquake, that's really annoying, and I haven't faced it yet, and I don't want to. But that being said, the speed tiers are not great. Greninja's like an okay top speed, but his next fastest mon's Perugly, and the next fastest mon is Zatu. So his fastest offensive mon besides Greninja is the Rillaboom, which relies on priority a lot. So the speed tier is rough, man. That's the biggest issue I have with the team. It's why it didn't get a higher grade for me. The speed tier is rough. The removal's okay. Again, a similar team with just not a lot of reliable recovery. Not that that's everything, but I do think it's a factor when you're talking about a perfect roster versus a good roster. I think that that's something you'd like to see. So not a lot of that there. But otherwise, still horribly threatening. Do not want to face Magirna with basically Earthquake being neutral. I'm not excited about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to the TOTEM TOTODILES, and Malone will be covering that one for us.
Yes, the TOTEM TOTODILES, coached by the newcomer Ulterior Motives. I mean, yeah, it's just another team with right off the bat you get a newly allowed Pokemans with the Speed Boost Blaziken, which, I mean, as I say every time, not fun to prep for.
Nope.
But a lot of fun mods. I like to see things like the Blaziken, the Mega Beedrill, the Silvally, Capparaja. It's a little. It's just like it doesn't. You know, I'm actually gonna remove what I was gonna say. Never mind. anyways, um, but overall, I think it's really solid. I mean, it's got the things on that little screen, that little section with all the setters and removers. It's got plenty of that. Got Cleric. It has pretty solid recovery for the potentially first time on this list. Not like, I mean, yeah, it's pretty solid. You got Jellison, Appleton, Silvally. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying. And it's just another team that offense heavy off the bat, but it has a lot of things that are going to support it.
Yeah, for sure. And it does have that reliable recovery element with a Salamence, not with a Silvally. Silvally doesn't have recovery, but
Doesn't get roofs?
Yeah, dumbass.
Salamence for sure does. So maybe that's where you were headed.
I said Salamence too.
Oh yeah. So
Whatever.
with this
Mm.
team, you know, A's across the board except Malone. Malone hates Ian. He gave an A-. I don't know what to tell you, but
True.
for me, the things that hold this back from being an A, that's the important things, right? Because basically this team is daggum near perfect. The things that hold it back from being an A, very few. I don't like Comfey as my primary fairy. You could argue Silvally Fairy is his primary fairy, but spoiler alert, hasn't been using it as such. So I don't love relying on Comfey as that. The back end here, Rotom's amazing. Raticate Alolan is a little suspect, although it actually does have some sneaky rolls. Appleton is nice, but there is that 2 quad Ice Weak Mons there that I'm not sure was completely thought out. Even though the thick fat's still there, it makes bringing ice a lot more likely. Very few knocks against the team. I love it. Toxic Spike is on Beedrill, but maybe a Spiker would have been nice because Blaziken just is nuts. With Speed Boost, you can run the special, you can run the physical. God, it's a problem. Azelf is really powerful too. Hard slept on by the community. Like seeing it get used well. Not a lot of knocks against the team. Very close to an A+. But A+ I just reserve for that like ultimate perfect team. There was just a few things I didn't love about this one, but it was, I mean, inches away from being an A+ for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much about my team. I think Brad and Malone said most of it. I drafted it because I think it's going to be a fun team to use. As Malone said, excited to use Salamence. Isa is always a fun one, and Silvally. Those are probably the 3 monsters I'm most excited about. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I think it's a decent team on paper.
Yeah, it definitely is. And a nice defensive core. Like Mince Jellison by itself is a nice defensive core. Hard slept on Mince. Needs
Freeze
more love.
dry.
Yeah, Freeze Dry doesn't exist. We don't worry about that. All right, Woodland Weaviles. I believe I've got Peach. So this is a nice team. Like every team's a nice team this year. I think with some of the new mons we introduced that caused kind of a power shift. Some of the A's fell into B, some of the B's fell into C. It just seems like rosters really reflect that change. They just feel and look more powerful, in my opinion. Something like Zera Aura in the 3rd round is just ludicrous. But anyway, love the team. I love the speed tiers here. I like the stealth rocks. I like the spikes. I love Florges. I don't know why, but I've seen it a couple of leagues lately where it's just stupid powerful. I saw a guy specs a Florges the other day, and it's just ridiculous. And I had the hardest time dealing with Beware. I've already faced Peach this season, and Beware was just really
No, you
something that
haven't.
I was unable to deal with. That being said, the team isn't perfect in my mind. The back half of the draft is a little bit mailed in my book. The Tentacruel's nice, but kind of everything after that's okay to decent. Like Articuno is pretty decent, but I don't love the rest of the team. But I do love the front end. I think his top 6 are really, really nice. But Greninja, Protean, it's a weird mon. I think I love it, but also sometimes I think it's not as powerful as I hoped it would be. So, and it's hard to rely on that typing. So you just got Zygarde taking those big ice beams, and most things nowadays seem like they have the ability to also run flamethrower. It just seems like there's a lot of special mons that if Florges doesn't stop them, have a chance to really break through and cause a lot of damage. But that being said, Peach is a great coach. I know he'll handle it well. I like the team. Probably went a little too low. probably would go back and say A- if I was ranking today. But I don't love that back half.
Okay. So I really like this team. As Brad said, there isn't really a bad team this year. This is a really good team. I quite enjoy the Grenin. The first six are really good ones. It's a bit surprising when you look at this team on paper. You think Greninja is the special breaker on this team, but Fleur just has the highest special attack, followed by Greninja. Um, so this team's a bit ground weak in my opinion. You're gonna
Yeah.
rely on core guys and Articuno to come at least either every week, and Articuno is not gonna enjoy switching to a Grandmon with potential rock move. So it limits his team a little. But otherwise, I really like this team. It's got good hazards. Ninja has the option to run spikes and toxic spikes, which is nice. You got Cruel, you've got Metagross and Lycanroc, all really good setters. Good removal as well, and good clerics all around. But as Brad said, the first six step above, first 6 months a step above the bottom three, in my opinion. So you're gonna find yourself bringing the same ones repeatedly, in my opinion, quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much else new to say. I was gonna chime in about that whole ground problem since he mainly is gonna rely on those back end mons too in order to deal with them. But I still really like the team overall. I think it's solid. I also think it's funny how, because of the forms, Gorgeist has 0.5 in its attack and speed. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. We'll move on to the Houston Tynamos, and Ian will start us off with Camera Options team.
Okay. So this was one of my favorite teams of the draft. We've got Lando I, another Mon, just unbanned with Sheer Force. And you have that Tibby Weavile and Scissor. This team is really scary to face. You've got some really good special breakers, some physical breakers. You've got that Sylveon with the Wish Pass and setup. You've got Mantine, which can take hits. You've got Meloetta, who can take hits. You've got Hazard Setters. You've got Hazard removal. You've got Clerics. It even broke my dock and made me have to shift the position and things because it had that many Clerics and that many Hazard Setters and removers. So yeah, this team would have been probably my top 2 or top 3 overall, I would say. Yeah. Alone.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this team. I think just, all the way down the list, very strong. Landers Eye, another one of the new mons that's just incredibly scary to face. Just faced it recently and I did not enjoy my time in preparation. But yeah, I mean, it's just across the board really good. No glaring weaknesses, no um um nothing like that of any sort. But I think it's yeah, I would agree with Ian in saying that it's one of the best teams. Maybe could use a little bit more speed just because you know speed is speed, and the speed at which you need is probably a bit higher, but still I think it's really solid. So
I really liked the way you put your words together there. That was great.
yeah,
Speed
speed is
speed is
speed.
gonna
The speed that you need
gonna
is, okay, cool. I like this team. There's a ton of immunities on this team, which is just super fun. But if you go and really look at the number of different things he can swap in and have an immunity, it's kind of astonishing. And some really nice value picks here. I always find Meloetta to be far better than whatever price you paid to pick it up. Mantine is similarly a very good for a tier D price tag. And then he's got 2 grounds to support it. And then Scizor swaps into, I mean, every freeze dry in the history of freeze dry. So there's a lot of things to like about this team. Offensively, terrifying. Weavile has, in my book, a really strong case to make it into A, even with the new additions because of how powerful it is. Triple Axle is just completely bonkers. And then the Sylveon providing that extra wish support into what can be some very bulky mons like Scizor, Steelix, Mantine, the Sylveon catching its own wishes. Things I don't love about the roster, I don't love the poison grass type, which is kind of a big typing. Being a Roselia, I know Roselia is bulkier than people think it is. It's better than people think it is, but I don't like relying on that as my primary grass and my primary poison. When Heliolisk is my electric, like Heliolisk fine, but it's definitely not a premier electric type. I don't love that particular element. And then the Weavile, Lando, they're both super, super offensive. But if somehow a team was able to deal with those two, the rest of the roster is not overwhelmingly threatening. Now that's a big if. That's a big if, and I know that that's a huge if because I have tried to figure out how do you even switch into Lando Eye, and I don't think that there's a really maybe outside of 2 or 3 mons you can do it comfortably. But the latter half of the team is not very scary, and offensively, you know, those first 3 really powerful, really threatening. The rest of the offense it's fairly kind of mid tier, middle of the road.
I'd just like to add that I really like this team's ability to deal with fire, water, grass cores. You've got Mantine and Heliolisk just absorbing the water attacks. Scizor can sit on grass moves all day.
Yep.
And Roselia as well, probably. And you got Flareon and Mantine, who are both one's immune and one can easily take any fire move. Yeah, really enjoyed this team quite a bit.
I do too. And again, just that Lando Eye, man, it just it seems like it two shots everything. I mean, I know it doesn't, but it comes really close to it. It's really close to it. Let's see. Malone's team is up next, which is fun. And then who's up? Am I up now?
That's Malone.
It's me, yeah.
Malone for Malone. Get it, brother.
Yeah, love talking about my own team. Yeah, I mean it's just I think overall it's solid, nothing too special. Kind of like what Ian was saying, it's just a lot of things that I'm, excited to use. Ashgren, like I've said every time I've seen one, a new mon that, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Como, Mega Audino, different lots of different things, but I think it at least covers most of the bases in terms of what you want. It's got a large amount of hazard setters, which is nice because I never use hazards. We've got solid, rest of the board. Maybe not as much hazard movers as you want, as Brett said. Maybe not as important as it used to be. Other than that, I think there's a couple other problems. There's definitely a large speed gap after Jolteon and Ashgren, which is not the best, not very good at all. But there's gonna be ways to work around it. But I think, other than that, it's overall pretty solid. No glaring type weaknesses, anything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really threatening team. Ashrange, of course. Ashrange is weird, and I've talked to a couple people about this coming into the draft. It was actually something I was interested in getting, but like it's terrible as as an A tier unless you get the kill, and then it's really really scary. So it is kind of a weird place. But the Komodo is widely underused, really since TJ left the ASL. He's the only person that's really focused on Komodo in the ASL. unbelievable mon. Mesprit is crazy value for the D tier. And Arcanine's maybe my favorite teleport user right now. This team has crazy bulk, like Skarmory, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Donphan, Audino. Like, this team has crazy bulk. The issues with it for me is, like, outside of the Ashranger getting the evolution, outside of the Kamo, the offensive versatility on this team is a little suspect. There is offense, but offensive versatility, Arcanine has that, maybe, but like Donphan, big earthquakes usually, right? Maybe a weakness policy, rock polish, but Jolteon's pretty much, what Jolteon's going to bring to the table. Not a lot of offensive versatility, and the other thing is just those speed tiers are really rough. 132 is a great high-end speed tier. Then you got the 130, and then it's all the way down to Arcanine at 95. So I don't love that particular element. But other than that, I really like the team. I like the options on the Stealth Rock setting side and spikes. So I feel good about the hazard area. I feel good about the wish passing. The bulk is nuts, but I just don't love the offensive versatility of this team.
Yeah, this team, another one that broke my system where I had to move hazard removals all the way down to the bottom left there. Really good team. Besides a few glaring mistakes, I would say, in the draft, being that large speed gap between Jolteon and whatever comes after that. I think it's a base Arcanine and 95. There's a huge speed gap between those two. I would say another thing without I see could have been improved on is this team's ability to deal with water types with ice moves. That could be something something that he might struggle with. Other than that, I would say Ash Greninja is really scary once it gets in its when it gets to its altered form. Tomo is one of the mons that can win you the whole game or 6-0 quite easily if it's slept on. Skarmory in the hands of Malone is always a threat. He likes to run that Galma set like an ass hat. And you've got Amoonguss, which is a really nice mon in itself. It can get the sneaky kills, and that's got a decent attack and special attack as well with its bulk. Arcanine's always a reliable mon, and Donphan, we know what it does. It does its job really well. And it has that Mr. Rhyme, which is
That's a plus,
an
right?
A tier. That instantly gave me that. It was a minimum in A grade because of it. And I downsized it to A after for the team.
Yeah, that was a failure on my part. I should have seen the Mr. Rhyme and immediately gone for the A range. I'm going to have to admit that mistake. All right. PC Barcelona, Shadow's team. Maybe Shadow's best team ever. Maybe second best. I don't know. I mean, love my guy Shadow, but Shadow's final team grade and being in the A's is not a common experience. And that's just reality. If I love the guy, but that his team style, the way he likes to build his teams is weird. But it works for him, or doesn't. I don't know. But I don't love the speed gap. He's got the 85 to that mid 50s. There's a couple of things in there like a Nido Queen. I believe I have on my roster. I wish I could remember my roster right now. But like those 70 speeds, maybe the low 80s, they're going to steal a ton of extra investment because of that. And there's a lot of bulky mons in between that arena there. So I don't love that particular gap. 70 and 80 is kind of a tier I would like to see hit. But Coco's awesome. Aerodactyl is awesome. Suicune hasn't been drafted in the ASL lately for some reason, but is still just as unkillable as ever. I'm excited to see what Articuno does this season. I don't even know if it's done anything at all yet. Spoiler alert. I don't know. And we all know Shadow has just a really strong affinity for Scrafty. The negatives, though, is this team is super crazy, ridiculous fighting week in my book. Like with Registeel, the Piloswine, Scrafty doesn't want to take a fighting type move. Typhlosion doesn't want to take a fighting type move. Cryogonal, Vigoroth, Aerodactyl doesn't love fighting type moves. I mean, you've got the Articuno there, but it's also probably going to get knocked off. So that's my one issue with this team that held it back from potentially getting to an A. But I do like it. I think there's a reasonable amount of bulk, even if that bulk like Kuhn and Reggie don't have super reliable recovery, but their natural bulk is so crazy that they are kind of a deviation from the norm in my mind. And again, Dragalge, I continue to say the single mon that benefited the most from Flip Turn. It's crazy good right now. Really like this team. Excited to see how it plays out for Shadow, especially going back to having those high speed mons, which is what he traditionally loves. But I'm really concerned about the fighting weakness.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head with a lot of your points. This is by far and easily Shadow's best team he's ever drafted, and ASL for sure. Maybe draft like entirely. Yeah, I think Shadow loves his Suicune, loves his Crafties. You see that common. It's his staple drafts, one of his staple drafts. Coco and Aerodactyl are really nice mons, and I think those two are gonna be the main mons for his attack, where he's gonna build his attack around. Everything else is more towards bulky support. Love the Dragalge, as Brad said, with Flip 10's a really good mon. Even better than how good it was previously at that price. This, as Brad said, huge speed gap, which could have been improved on. Not too keen on. It's honestly not too keen on his attack options. I feel like it's a bit limited on this team. Could have been improved on. His recovery is a bit lacking. Ones like Registeel and Piloswine could really use a cleric to wish pass. He doesn't have any of that, I don't think. Yeah, I think the only mon with reliable recovery, Coco, Aerodactyl, Articuno, and maybe Vigoroth, which you're not going to get them running recovery that often because they're not going to be in that defensive role that often, I think. It is possible, though. I never know with Shadow.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, you guys basically said everything. I had to say that I was gonna touch upon that not having a cleric because basically the points you said. I mean, there's just some things that you don't want to get toxic or whatever. I know some things on his team might use like rest more than others, but I mean, still, point still stands. But I mean, yeah, it's a classic Shadow team or a team with classic Shadow elements, and then he's just made it good.
Yeah.
I really like the Aerodactyl. I just thought as soon as I saw him take it, I'm like, that's fun. Hopefully he uses it well.
Yeah, and I do go back. I want to come back and emphasize though, with the fighting weakness that he has, his only fairy being Coco, which is not your typical bulky fairy. I would like to see him do something to improve upon that, even if it was a late fairy. Something to help him. Yeah, you could steal that from you. Or make a pickup of some kind of some variety. I just think that close combat's going to ruin his whole world. But onward and upward. My team is up next, and I believe Ian is covering it.
Oh boy! All right. So this team, I think unanimously everybody agreed it's one of the best teams we have this season. We've got the Dragapult Infernape, which are really scary first two picks offensively, and have Mega Aggron, which can take hits and deal hits back just as hard. We've got the Vaporeon, which can be a wish passer and absorb those water type hits. Be a cleric all around, toxic stall, whatever you want. The perfect, near perfect water pairing for that Mega Aggron. Nido Queen, we know what it does. It does its job really well. Orbitsal's a fun one. It's got sticky webs. It can set up. It can do many things. Yeah, and it's a very solid team all around. I'm really excited to see what it does with that Moltres, the Galarian Moltres. Um, it's an interesting mon in the sense that it only really has Hurricane and Fiery Wrath to really utilize, but in the hands of Brad, I'm sure he'll find some tech for it to make it stand out. In terms of speed tiers, it's pretty good speed tiers. You've got that Dragapult right up there. Infernape's quite good 108 speed tier. You've got the Whimsicott, which has a tailwind support if need be. It's got good hazard settings all around. Hazard removal's decent. With it's going to rely a bit on Whimsicott, but as Brad said, with heavy duty boots, it's easily played around this season. Yeah, not much negative to say about this team. Really like it.
Yeah, overall it's just really, really good. The defensive core of Aggron, Vaporeon, Diancie, you could add even like a Whimsicott or a Nidoqueen. It's just not, you're just not gonna want to face it. Like if you look at the team, you're like, oh, there's an Aggron, there's a Dragapult, like, oh, this sucks, and then you just actually like analyze it, and it's synergy, and it just makes it worse because it's just something. He just has. I'm gonna repeat this phrase. Covers all the bases. I wonder how much I've said that, but I mean, it really does, and it's just, yeah, that's all I have to say.
I really like this team. I never, ever, ever imagined I would get Dragapult at a pick 8. So I was really pumped to be able to do that. This is the first time I've been able to use it since its release, because it always seems to go like top 3, and I never seem to get a pick in the top 3. So really excited for that opportunity, and I love Infernape. Infernape's it's a 13 game kind of mon for me. Like, you draft it and you start every week deciding what Infernape set you're bringing. And that being said, I probably have already had a game where I didn't bring it, but still, I just love that mon. But the mon that surprised me the most is Mega Aggron. I've never really used it. I think I used it like in Gen 6 maybe, and that was the last time I've tried it. But since then we've got the whole fairy explosion. Aggron's nuts, dude. It's insane. It takes trades like I've never seen. It has crazy coverage. Heavy Slam hits so hard, but Aggron takes 20s and 30s and gives back 50s and 60s. I just love that mon. I'm going to draft it a million times from now on. I just really am having a blast with it. But I love Moltres, man. I love it from the moment I saw Moltres Galar, and I'm not really a design guy. I don't get super excited about the design of Mons, but I saw that Mon and was like, oh, this is instantly like a top 10 all-time favorite Mon. Just instantly. Love it. Love the design. Can't wait to see it get Roost and Defog, but really exciting Mon. Ian, are you
Yes.
there? Did Ian died?
Ian started.
Oh.
Started.
Oh.
So, moving on.
Listen, Ian died in my book.
No problem.
That's all I can say. Ian's just dead. And I hate that. But, he's gone. He's never coming back. All right, Malone. Keister's team.
Yeah, Keister back in the league. Love to see it. And a pretty darn strong team. Another just in terms of, okay, I really gotta think about what I'm saying before I say, because this is not going well. But I think instantly you look at the Mega Mawile, not gonna have fun. and then everything after that is so good, so versatile. The Latios, the Zapdos, the Crook. I mean, you could just go down the list. You got Licky Licky, love to see that, like always. Um, it has a couple. I mean, obviously, the first thing you see is it's not the fastest. It has a lot of, um, it has a good amount of things over base 100, but you would like to see something that's maybe a bit faster than the Salazzle at 117, which you're not gonna bring to every game. But other than that, there's not really a lot of weaknesses. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of removers, but he doesn't need them. Looking at his team, it's going to be very hard to break, and that's reminiscent of maybe a past team of his. Cough, cough. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree. I like this team a lot. I don't. My biggest knock on this team is that his fastest weekly bring is the Latios, and 110 is just. It used to be fast, but 110 is just not fast anymore. With so many 130s and even 140s now walking around. But Mega Mawile is a top 3 Mega right now. Its typing combo is, in my opinion, the best typing combo in the game. And Zapdos Slowbro is really dumb. Just really, 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 really dumb. And I don't look forward to dealing with that whenever I eventually have to. Maybe I'll just forfeit before the match. I don't know. But I don't want to have to deal with that. But yeah, I like the team a lot. I don't love Mega Mawile being his only fairy. Would like to have seen him, instead of maybe doubling up on Ghost, maybe double up on Fairy, so he could have that kind of typing coverage. Fairy's just so stinking important, man. Fairy's the only typing, really. Fairy and Ground are the only typings that I'm like, I'm drafting one of those no matter what the mon is. Like, I'm gonna have a Ground, I'm gonna have a Fairy. Um, would have liked to have seen him get a little bit extra help besides just the Mawile.
I really, really like this team. I would say it's my top two, or top three even. The first few months, super scary. You've got Mega Mawile, Latio, Zapdos, Crook, and Slowbro, which I think he can bring that every week with plus another mon from the rest, and probably expect to win the game. They complement each other really well. They can all hit hard and take hits. Uh, Especially that Slowbro, which can be paired with many of the low tier mons and get really good pairing with Virizion, Licky Licky, Kofagrigus, whatever really you choose. You can have a really solid defensive core at that. There's a little bit of a speed gap between Crook to whatever's below. Stone Journal, I believe, is the next fastest mon. It's quite minor. In terms of hazard settings, he's got that Crook that is a reliable cell rock setter. Sojourner for Grigas as well. Can set up spikes, toxic spikes. I mean, Removers has got a few good options. Clerics is got decent clerics in Licky. Yeah, not much negative to say about this team. Going to be one of the toughest teams to go for this season.
Yeah. Mawile is just in such a good place right now. It has so many plus matchups in the current meta. And then we have the Riverside Otters with Brett's team. A lot of transactions right off the bat for Brett's team. Similar to my team, I got a little lost in the draft and did not perform well on draft day. I think Brett also struggled a little bit on draft day, but I love the changes he's made, honestly. Like, Blissey teleporting into Cinderace, Excadrill, Starmie is really scary. And then he is fighting weak on the front end, but he has the Crobat, which switches into like every fighting move ever. I really like the kind of core concepts of this team. We've seen Grimmsnarl perform really, really highly in the ASL. Um, I really like this team. I like a lot of the elements. I think it's just really threatening. Like Libero Cinderace is really powerful. Excadrill, like just a mold breaker set, ignoring the Sand Rush, is really threatening, especially with the Rotoms being at a really good place right now in Nasty Plot and Heavy Duty Boots. Having the mold breaker Earthquake's really cool. Starmie with the flip turn, I think, is a nice value in C. There's really not a lot of reasons in my mind this team doesn't perform well outside of having to navigate around a little bit of a fighting weakness.
Yeah, Brad made a few transactions which I think really paid off for him. In the sense that his roster is a lot more threatening now. He's got that Cinderace Excadrill, which super scared to build for, and you've got that 3 mons right there, Blissey, Starmie, Crobat, which I find a really scary defensive core. Blissey is going to partner up amazingly well with that Crobat, and you're going to switch into the Crobat every time there's a fighting move, and every time there's a Thunderbolt or Ice Beam, you switch back into the Blissey. And I find Starmie can be the gel in between the two of them. It's a really solid team all around. Gigalit can set up Samsung for that Excadrill to really take advantage of. One thing I would say is there's a big speed gap between the Raichu and that Excadrill. There's nothing in between that. But overall, I think this team's a really good team. And every team has been really good so far. But yeah, not much negative to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much new to say. I mean, it's definitely apparent that most of these teams in the rankings have high rankings, even compared to last season when they have been a bit generous. This is even one of the better teams, I would say. But like, yeah, like the lowest ranking you're gonna see is like like the B that we already had. So I mean, all these new mods, it's getting hard to draft a bad team at this point.
Yeah. I agree. I really like this team. I'm excited to see Blissey teleporting into things that just teleport's just such a
Forgot about
game
that.
changer. Like teleport is such a crazy thing to be added. And we haven't even seen the full depths of what teleport's going to do. Like no one in the ASL has paired up like Mega Metacham with teleport yet. Like there is even more threatening like teleport bringing in offense safely combos to be seen, but I think this team is just like a snapshot of how scary it can be. And then we got a Static's team, Inner Milotic.
Yeah, so I think I got this one. So this is another solid team. You can see unanimously all our grades are pretty good, except Shadow, who thought this team was dog shit. Um, yeah, this team's scary. You got Kirby, which is so after 13 seasons, it's still one of the best months all around. It can set up now. They can hit like a truck, can take hits, do everything. You've got Corviknight, which is one of the best months in Draft League as well, defensively. Mega Kang, which hasn't been the best mon in ASL history, but interested to see what Static can do. Definitely has high potential. Zoomeril, which is really well-rounded mon. It can do so many things. You can run that Sapsipper set, thick fat, huge power, however you want to set it up. There is a niche for it in every game. Ducktrio is a really good trapper. I would say this team, the first 5 months are really nice, and I can see them coming every week, and then it suffers from having to fill that last spot with whatever's left behind. So it's kind of predictable. There's not a huge special attack present on this team. You're gonna have Kiram B, which is the highest special attack user on this team, but that rather run physical, so a bit limited there. not much else to say really. Quite like this team, but could be better.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think he definitely is going to have to rely on a lot of those first 5 mons to bring every week. So we'll see how that works. But overall, I really like the team. I gave it a B plus, which is like one of the lowest rankings I've given a team. So yeah, but um, overall, yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, it has what I feel like we are going to identify in almost every team, which is well, actually, I didn't see shift, but Shifter's bad, so there is a speed gap um between Kyurem and Corviknight because Shifter's just bad.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
don't know
fair to
why.
point out. I think that's completely fair
Yeah,
to point out that, like, the only things between like the 90s and the 60s is a shift
is a
tree,
Shifter.
which is coming to what, maybe 3 to 4 games all season long.
Yeah,
So yeah, ostensibly there is a massive, massive speed gap right in the middle, or he's relying on a shift tree a lot, which I don't know which one's worse. Neither one of those two things are great, but I do like the team. Static's like one of the sneaky talent coaches in the ASL. Like, he's not usually in like a top 3 seed or competing for a bye, but it's never an easy game. I've always found him to be a hard night out if you're gonna have to face another battler. The only thing to me, I won't repeat what everyone else has said, is Kangaskhan to me doesn't make sense on this team. That's my only drawback to this team. You've already got a fighting weak Kyurem. You've got a fighting neutral Corviknight. Every fighting type carries knockoff just about to hit the Corsola. Kangaskhan was, in my mind, unnecessary. I think if you just took Kangaskhan out and put like a Mega Gardevoir in, I think this team would be significantly better. But outside of that, I don't have a lot of problems with the team. I just don't. I think Kangaskhan was probably the wrong choice in my mind. But I get it. Like, I get excited about a mon. That's the mon I want to use. I'm gonna use it, and I completely support him. I get where he's coming from, but I don't think Kangaskhan needs to be on this roster. Otherwise, it probably would have been an A to an A plus for me. I really like it.
yeah. Although knowing Static, he'll go 1-5 probably, most likely, if I were to predict.
If you're just
But
gonna
anyways,
put it out there.
yeah.
All right. Now you've
TCP,
got TCP, the one and the only.
the man himself, notoriously bad at the game. Another season for TCP. Um, it's an interesting team. I personally not a fan of Spectrier. Um, I think that's just because I used it once in a league that in a team that I inherited and I didn't do well, but it's just so limited with its move set and I don't enjoy that. That being said, it's CCP and he'll use it well, so I'm not gonna spend the whole time saying how bad it is. But other than that, I mean it's a very strong team. Um, you love to see Jirachi Hydreigon, those, you know, pair very well. And then he has a lot of things back end that just give him so much bulk. You could even start Moltres, Weezing, Chestnut, Seismitoad, Avalugg. Honestly, anything after Moltres is gonna be able to provide you bulk in a certain amount of games, and that's something that you like to see. Um, but it does have some problems. There's the speed gap between Spectre and Jirachi is a bit weird to me. I mean it's not, the worst you're gonna see, but it's definitely just kind of weird, I
Yeah.
mean it's not also not the biggest physical presence, so there's some games where that could be a problem, but other than that, pretty solid.
Yeah. I like the team. I like Komala. If we would have put this out before I would have warned everyone, like, hey, don't forget Sleep Talk Last Resort. That's a real set. Unfortunately, somebody didn't hear that at some point in the season, and Sleep Talk Last Resort found its way into the league. But that's just such a fun Kamala set. I've used it against TCP in the past. Moltres is one of those mons to me, like, at its current place, like, it almost doesn't matter what the price tag is for Moltres, it always seems to exceed that in value. It just seems like Moltres always finds a way to be on the field and relevant in every match. It's almost like you could pay a B price tag for it and Moltres would still be good in like 90% of matches. I don't know what it is about Moltres, but it's just insane right now. Hydreigon Jirachi's a classic OG pairing and is still just as good as ever. And then I really like the Wheezing G. I had Wheezing G in my plans. Did not expect it to get sniped. I think TCP took it like late 4th or early 5th. And I was anticipating taking it just a couple of picks after wherever TCP took it. So really excited to see the Wheezing G perform. I know TCP will use it well. I don't know why he drafted Pyukumuku because it's garbage. But outside of that, I like the team. And I will echo what Malone had to say, though. Spectrier is just kind of in a weird place. Like, it's super powerful. I think a Dark Pulse to, like, Miltank 2-hit KOs. Like, Spectre is crazy powerful. But if you have a decent Dark type, and you're not too worried about switching into Will-O-Wisp, Spectre is... I mean, it has to set in the back and wait for your Dark type to die. So, it's, didn't reach into the A tiers for me, but I really like this team. I like the value picks that he has, like the Seismitoad, the Kangaskhan, the Wheezing G. Really nice value for the tier that it was picked in.
Yeah, I think you guys hit the nail right on the head with most of your points. Not much to add to that. Spectre is a really good mon, hard hitting, but rather predictable. As Brad said, just keep your dark type alive and you'll probably be able to deal with it. Jirachi is a really nice mon on this team. It's the gel for a lot of things. It can set hazards, wish pass, so you turn out into something else. It can take hits. It can deal hits. Can use a scarf to utilize the Serene Grace. One thing which I really don't like on this team is the top 3 physical mons on this team are Avalug, Kamala, and Chestnut by order. So it's really gonna be not the hardest to play around. If you have a really good special wall, you should be able to deal with his team, and you can kind of just prep for the Kamala on the side as well. It's got some nice elements, but I think from TCP's high standards, probably expected a little more this season. But wouldn't be surprised to see him in the finals again with his team. He'll make it work if anyone can.
For sure. For sure. All right. TG, the great one. Coming off with, I think, tied for our lowest ranking at a straight B. And I think there's a couple of reasons. One, I would say, kind of going back to Keister's team, 110 as your top speed is just no longer really acceptable. With Mons, the speed just keeps creeping up, and really useful Mons getting speed now. Things that are weekly brings, like a Zera Aura, like a Dragapult, even into the 130s. There's some like mandatory like weekly brings to maybe 10 game out of our 13-week season that are coming. 110, you're gonna be outsped in pretty much every matchup if your top speed Mon's 110, or you're having a scarf a lot, which inherently has problems. So that speed issue there is relevant. It just is. I love Urshifu single strike. It is so stupid to deal with. I had just faced TG, and I just got 2-shot by Urshifu. My whole team. and there was nothing I could do about it. It just two-shot my whole team. Yeah, I mean, I could kill it, but that was it. But the speed issue is the thing. And then the main issue with Keister's team that again, I talked about it before. In my book, mandatory typing. How do you build a team in Season 13, Gen 8 without a fairy? I think it was an oversight. It was probably an accident. He might make a transaction after seeing his video. I don't know. But I just don't know how you build a team in today's meta without a fairy type. It just completely blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of probably the main point why I ranked it at B team. Without a fairy, Dragon types just run through this team. Speed tier wise, you're gonna the Latias is the fastest at a 110, and you have to go all the way down to the sides and Miss Magius for anything above 100 really, and everything else is just slow. The Urshifu is really nice. It's gonna be the biggest threat on this team. But again, you're gonna look at the first 5 months, and those first 5 months are really solid. And you're gonna try to patch the 6 mon on the team with whatever you can, and I feel like that is quite easy. This team is quite easy to deal with. Uh, yeah, whatever the 6 months that he puts out, could have been better in the sense that, um, yeah, I think a fairy really would have helped this team gel everything together. Just missing that little bit of something.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that little something would be like the most influential typing that's probably ever hit the meta. I would say is the little bit of something that he's missing. Now, spoiler alert, I will just say TG did come to his senses. Maybe it's because some of us yelled at him and dropped Xploud for Aromatisse. So, to give him a little credit, he did acknowledge the issue in the future weeks and made a change, but definitely a wild decision to make on draft day.
Yeah.
And then Dravos' team. I don't remember who's up.
Ian.
Ian's up.
It's your turn, Brad.
Okay. I'll go then. I like this team. I like Dravos's like whole thing. I like his style. The last 2 seasons, man. Like last season, his crazy comeback. Wasn't he? Was like 1-6, 1-5, something like that, and ended up sneaking in on the last seed of the playoffs. Played really well. And then this team kind of fits what he was doing, right? It's kind of good offense, good bulk, got some momentum, got some kind of like fun mons to do weird things like Slowking. Lucario is really useful in my book. I don't want to talk about the whole mill tank in that picture there. That's a strange thing, but you know, I like the team. I'm a big fan of what Dravos is doing lately. He's putting together really nice game plans with a really solid roster. I'm a big fan of it. His Noivern being your 120 is okay. I think that's fine. Houndoom's actually stupid good. I think it was Peach that I saw using it in another league, and just Houndoom is nuts. Really cool. Loving that. And Dust Noir, the Dust Brothers are just in a crazy Dust Noir, Dusk Clops. Crazy good for E. I don't know why they're in E. They're always been good, but now with like Poltergeist, they're even just so much better. And any team that has Lucario, automatically my heart goes out, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah, really like his team. Defensively, the Miltang and Slowking are going to be really hard to deal with. they deal with each other's. They complement each other really well. And you pair that fortress up as well. They can give you some momentum and set up some hazards. You got Landers T, which always performs. Apofini, which is one of the best mons in Draft League, in my opinion. Now gets the flip turn, I believe.
It does.
Not sure if. And yeah, there's a lot of quality mons on this team. Noivern, being the fastest mon on this team, is okay. It's a decent mon to have. Lucario is a strange one. I like it on paper, but I can never really find that speed enough for me. But I'm sure it can make it work. Good team all around, as you can see the grades, all in the A's. Not much negative to say. And Auroras as well. It gets Aurora Veil now, so that could be some nice tech for him. Utilize, take advantage of. Excited to see what the Mega Hound can do. Yeah, should be a fun one.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. I mean, you guys said basically everything I would have said. Lots of interesting mons. Very excited for the Houndoom, as you touched upon, but that's about it.
I like it. Tapu Fini, again, to reiterate what Ian's saying, Tapu Fini's easily a top, like, maybe 10, like, glue mon. Like, you put it on a roster, that roster's better. Tapu Fini is simultaneously one of the best waters and one of the best fairies. Just stupid good. And that's kind of it. So TG and Amarillo with a B. TCP, Static both landing in the B plus range. Shadow, Malone, Peach, Popeye, and Drevos all with the A minus. Brett, Keister, Cameruption, myself, and Ian all with the A, regular A. No A pluses and no C's. Good job, Shadow. You avoided the C's, man. Way to go, bro.
I think having the lowest rank being a B
Yeah.
really reflects how good the season's
Yep.
gonna be.
For sure. All right. Well, this is it. Hope you enjoyed it. 6 weeks late. Who really cares? All right. We'll be seeing you guys maybe in a future video. You know, maybe it's next week. Maybe it's 2 months from now. I don't know. We'll find out.